The lawn looks too calm for a place that once throbbed with guitars and chaos. On misty mornings, Welders House, Ozzy Osbourne's Buckinghamshire estate, lets fog roll off its red brick shoulders and settle over the lake. Locals whisper that it feels abandoned now. The music stopped. The laughter faded. But abandoned is the wrong word. This is where the Prince of Darkness tried to outrun darkness, and where silence finally caught him. The gates still stand, iron curling into a crown. They remember the ambulances, the fans, the years of noise. Despite viral videos of an abandoned Aussie mansion, the truth is subtler. The house isn't derelict, it's in mourning. Quiet, yes, but not forgotten. The Rise and the Refuge. John Michael Ozzy Osbourne was born in Aston, Birmingham, industrial smoke and hard edges. He climbed out through melody, turning noise into salvation. Black Sabbath gave him immortality. Solo fame made him a myth, and the Osbournes turned that myth into something oddly human, a rock god with dogs, dishes, and daughters. By the early 2000s, fame was both crown and cage. Sharon found Welders House, secluded, green, ringed by trees, to be their escape from Los Angeles madness. Between tours, Ozzy walked its gardens, fed koi by the lake, and smoked by the water. The estate was his sanctuary. No paparazzi, no pressure. Just a man trying to stay sober, steady, alive. Then the quiet betrayed him. The crash. December 8, 2003. The estate's frost lay like glass over the paths. Ozzy revved an ATV across the grounds. One wrong angle, and the machine flipped. A fractured neck vertebra, broken ribs, clavicle pressing an artery. He stopped breathing for more than a minute before a security guard revived him. The world headlines screamed, "Ozzy Deadly Crash." At home, Sharon's voice cracked in prayer. Cameras waited outside the gate. Inside, machines breathed for him. When he finally opened his eyes, the world had changed. The man who defied death on stage had defied it in silence. And in that surreal twist of fate, while recovering, Ozzy's duet of Changes with daughter Kelly hit #1 in the UK, a song about aging, transformation, survival. The house that nearly took him became the house that healed him. The long, slow battle. By 2010, the Osbournes' fame mellowed into something almost domestic. Ozzy still made records, still joked that he couldn't kill himself even if he tried. But in private, he began losing battles his fans couldn't see. In 2019, he fell again. Another neck injury, more pain.
I've been in a miserable, with this injury I had in my neck. It's been really miserable for me, you know.
The old crash had left a curse, fragile nerves, tremors, fatigue. Then in January 2020 on television, Ozzy spoke the words aloud. "I have Parkinson's." It wasn't the end, but it was an enemy he couldn't outscream. Sharon held his hand as he explained, the shaking, the exhaustion, the slow betrayal of his own body. Fans cried, critics softened. Suddenly the world saw the man behind the myth, vulnerable, funny, furious, still fighting. Welders House became his recovery ward again. Nurses, physical therapists, cameras off. The lake reflected his moods, calm one day, stormed the next. Sharon said he'd walk its edge for hours, muttering jokes to himself, rehearsing living like a line of lyrics he didn't want to forget. The announcement. In February 2023, Ozzy broke the news fans had feared. "This is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to share. I can't physically do the traveling required for touring." The No More Tours 2 tour was canceled. For the first time in 50 years, the road ended. "I'm not dying," he added quickly, "just done touring." But even his defiance sounded tired. Behind Welders House's walls, the noise dimmed. The garden overgrew slightly. The studio lights stayed off. The once constant hum of amps and laughter turned to birdsong. The Prince of Darkness had finally come home, and stayed there. The rooms that remember. Step through the estate and you can still feel him. The music room, soundproofed but never silent, holds the ghosts of riffs half-finished. The kitchen, forever smelling of tea and burnt toast, remembers morning arguments and reconciliations. The lake, reflective and patient, remembers the man who would stare into it for hours, looking for something only he understood. Welders House was more than shelter, it was a mirror. Every relapse, every recovery, every vow to do better echoed off its old walls. Sharon once called it his church. One last song. In early 2025, Birmingham called him home. Ozzy dreamed of one more show in his city, one last night with the tribe that made him. Against doctors' orders, he rehearsed sitting down, joked about performing tied to a chair if I have to. That July, Villa Park filled to the rafters. Thousands wept as Ozzy appeared, frail, trembling, but luminous under the lights. He sang Paranoid, voice rough but alive, every lyric sounding like a farewell letter. Sharon stood side stage, mouthing along. It wasn't a concert, it was communion. He left the stage that night with a grin that said, "Now I can rest." The final silence. 3 weeks later, July 22, 2025, Buckinghamshire woke to the sound of helicopters. The air ambulance landed near Welders House. Inside, Sharon called out his name again and again. But this time, the gate didn't open for his return. At 76, Ozzy Osbourne, the boy from Aston, the father, the madman, the miracle, was gone. The world howled in grief. Birmingham mourned its son with black roses and Sabbath songs echoing through the streets. His coffin was carried through the city, past the same factories that raised him, then home again, to the place that had witnessed every version of him. They buried him by the lake. The water rippled once and went still. The rumor of abandonment. In the months that followed, drone videos appeared online. Overgrown gardens, empty driveways, curtains drawn. Ozzy's abandoned mansion, the titles claimed. But the truth was quieter. Sharon closed the gates. The family left the house to breathe. No ruin, no decay, just a home that had done its job and was finally allowed to rest. Inside, furniture stayed in place. Guitars hung on walls. Portraits of his children still watched the halls. It looked abandoned because grief is invisible. Even the house seemed to grieve him, ivy spreading like a soft green veil, the lake whispering old songs. Locals swear that at dusk, if the wind's right, you can hear the faint hum of a melody, something between dreamer and a sigh. The legend and the man. History will tell the wild stories, the bats, the bands, the rehab escapes. But Welders House holds the quiet ones, Ozzy feeding his dogs before sunrise, writing lyrics about forgiveness, sitting on the dock with his grandchildren, pretending not to cry when they left. He wasn't just the Prince of Darkness, he was a man trying over and over to find peace with himself. Fame made him mythical, but home made him mortal, and that, in the end, was his greatest rebellion. If you stand at the gate now, you'll hear what the house hears: birds, wind, the far-off hum of a motorway. The same rhythm that once pulsed through Sabbath's amplifiers still lingers here, muted, but alive. The fans keep coming, leaving flowers against the iron fence. Some cry, some laugh, some whisper, "Thank you." The house listens. What the house keeps. Welders House remembers everything. It remembers December 2003, when it almost became his grave. It remembers January 2020, when Parkinson's took his steadiness, but not his humor. It remembers February 2023, when he said goodbye to touring. And it remembers July 2025, when he finally let go. The estate keeps those echoes in its walls like grooves in vinyl. It doesn't play them anymore, but they're there, waiting for anyone who knows how to listen. Maybe that's why it feels haunted, not by ghosts, but by gratitude. If you call it abandoned, say it softly, because it's not, it's resting. And so, at last, is he. Closing reflection. Ozzy Osbourne spent a lifetime outrunning death, addiction, and expectation. He fell, he rose, he laughed at his own legend, and when the lights dimmed, he returned to the one stage that never judged him, home. Welders House stands now as a monument to the strange miracle of endurance. Its gardens overgrown, its windows dark, but inside it hums with the residue of music, laughter, and forgiveness. Even the loudest thunder ends in a hush. And that hush, that moment after the final chord, isn't silence, it's peace. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment down below as it helps support this channel. Also, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our newest videos. Thanks for watching.